decided to declutter because you are fed up of the mess, you are sick of tripping over stuff and never being able to find what you need. You've decided that's it, it's time for this clutter to go. But then suddenly you develop this deep emotional attachment to every item you own, even that ratty t-shirt that you never wear. What is going on, and how can you make it easier to say goodbye to all of this stuff? Let's go. Hi guys, it's Laura and I help you live a simpler, happier, more spacious life. And Jovi is here with me, but she's over in the corner having a little rest for herself because it has been a busy morning of jumping all over me. But letting go can be hard. That's true for people, but it's also true for stuff. Let's make it easier to say goodbye. Let's kind of ease that separation anxiety that kicks in whenever it is time to part with something. Now, sometimes you will know why it's hard to part with something. You paid a lot of money for it, or it's still in good, serviceable condition. Maybe it reminds you of someone. And then other times you won't, and that's where I want to start because I feel like that is the foundation of separating from your stuff. The very first time that I experienced this was with toiletries. Now listen, I have no emotional attachment to toiletries whatsoever. I barely even use it beyond kind of basic hygiene and dental stuff. No skincare, no cosmetics, no beauty treatments. I'm very low maintenance when it comes to that sort of stuff. But I was having a really hard time letting go of the excess because it was kind of useful. You know, I didn't really know why I was having such a hard time with it. I wasn't using it, but it seemed a waste to get rid of it, even if I was donating it. Just couldn't seem to do it. So I did something that I had never done before when I was decluttering, and that was I gave myself permission to keep it. When we feel forced to do something, we resist, or certainly I do. I'm very stubborn. You know, even if it's not logical, we want to feel in control. We want to be masters of our own destiny and we want to make our own decisions. We don't want to feel forced to have to do something, even if it's not somebody else forcing us to do it, even if there is no real force, even if it's just kind of pressure we're putting on ourselves, we will still resist that. So when we feel like we have to give something up, even if we are the ones who are creating that feeling, we don't want to do it. When I told myself that it was okay to keep that stuff, you know, I didn't have to get rid of it. I gave myself permission. Then it felt like my choice again, and I was able to be a little bit more rational about it. You know, I think parting is always hardest when we feel that we don't have a say in the matter, when something is just kind of suddenly wrenched away from you. So remind yourself that you do have a choice. And look, there is no wrong choice. You do what is best for you in the moment. If you're not quite ready to say goodbye to something right now, that's okay. That doesn't mean that you never will be. It just means not right now. But just by realizing that you have the choice, you will learn that you can shed another layer. But let's be honest, that is usually with kind of the smaller, insignificant stuff, like toiletries. But now you've hit a wall because guilt has come rushing to the surface. You just feel bad about letting that item go. You paid a lot of money for it and never used it, or hardly ever. Someone gifted it to you and it just feels wrong to toss it aside. It's still in good condition and could still be used. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. Maybe it could be repurposed or recycled or upcycled. It could be turned into something else, you know, given a new lease of life. Surely it would be a waste to get rid of it. This is something that I have felt a lot over the years, all of these things, but I have learned kind of different strategies, different ways to cope with it that help me shed a lot more stuff, including the guilt. Clothing is where I first experienced that kind of guilt of having spent too much money on something and not having got my money's worth out of it, you know, not having worn it enough to justify the price that I had paid for it. But my light bulb moment came when I realized the money was gone. You know, the money was already wasted and it wasn't coming back. And by keeping that item, all I was doing was continuing to pay for it. I was continuing to make myself feel bad. And I realized that it did not matter if I then suddenly started wearing the item. It didn't matter if I was going to wear it every single day. I was never going to feel like I had got my money's worth. I was never going to feel like it had been worth it. I was basically punishing myself. You know, either way, no matter what I did, I was punishing myself by just keeping the item there, but I was also going to be punishing myself if I forced myself to wear it, when the reality was I didn't want to wear it for whatever reason. I wasn't going to be happy no matter what I did. I wasn't going to feel better. And that was it. You know, the thing I was feeling bad about, I realized I was never going to be able to fix that problem. So the best that I could do was to just let that item go, whether that meant donating it or selling it, and to stop myself from just feeling bad about it, from continuing to feel bad about it. You cannot continue to punish yourself for a decision that you made, you know, that felt right in the moment. Some things just don't work out, and that's okay. But what if it's someone else's money? You know, what if someone else has put thought, effort, and cold hard cash into giving you a gift that is now just taking up space? I'm not gonna lie to you, this is a hard one, and it really kind of depends on who gave you the item. When I give a gift, I do it because I want the other person to feel happy. You know, I want them to enjoy it, but I don't give it with the expectation that they will keep it forever and ever. And honestly, I think most people are like that. Most people are not going to, you know, demand to see that item again, you know, every time they visit you. They're not going to demand that you prove that you're still using it and loving it. A year from now, most people won't even remember what they gave you. And you know that. You probably can't remember every single gift that you have given to someone over the years. Listen, I can barely remember what I had for breakfast. Never mind what people have given to me or what I have given to them. But yes, there will be people who will ask, and you know who they are, probably because they have done it before. In that situation, you have to weigh up the guilt of keeping the item, just letting it hang around, with the guilt of letting it go. Would you rather hang on to it, let it take up space in your home, and, you know, drag it out every time that person visits? Or would you rather pass it on and then either come clean about it, you know, just tell the truth about what happened to that item, or maybe even indulge in a little white lie? You used it all up, or it got broken or stolen, or your neighbor borrowed it, hasn't yet given it back. That is the balancing act, and sometimes it does come down to that. It comes down to which makes you feel better, you know, hanging on to the item even if you don't really like it, or letting go of the item. Sometimes, even if you don't like the item, you know that you will feel better for having kept it around. But that's a kind of subjective thing. That's something only you can decide, which is going to make you feel better. If it's kind of a choice between two evils, which is the lesser of those two evils. But just remember that when a gift is given, there are kind of two reasons why that would happen. One, it is a token gesture, maybe a, you know, thank you for coming to my party, or thank you for helping me celebrate this event. In that case, it's not meant to be a treasured possession. And the other then too is that it's given in the hope that it will make the recipient's life better in some way. Gifts should come with gratitude, not with guilt. If you are grateful for the thought and the effort that went into that gift, if you're grateful for the person who gave it to you, then it's job done. Your love for that person, your gratitude and appreciation for them, your connection to that person is not tied to a physical item. But maybe it's this next one you struggle with. Maybe it is still in really good condition. Maybe you could repurpose it or recycle it or just use it a little bit more. It would be a waste to let it go, right? I'm going to give you some tough love here. You're being selfish. You are hanging on to this item even though you're not using it, and by doing that, you are depriving someone else from being able to use it and benefit from it. Just because something can still be used does not mean that it needs to be used by you. There is someone out there who does not have what you have, who would love what you have, who would use what you have, yet you are keeping it. It is just sitting around your house doing nothing but gathering dust. Now, maybe you think that by hanging on to it, you are saving the planet, but you're actually not, because by keeping it, by not passing it on, by not recycling it, by not donating it, by not allowing someone else to get the benefit, you're forcing that other person to go out and buy one for themselves. Don't be selfish with the stuff that you've just got sitting around on a shelf. Now you might be thinking, that's great, Laura, but how do I know that it's going to be used? How do I know that someone else is going to put it to good use? How do I know where it's going to end up? If I sell it online or I bring it to a charity shop, how do I know that it's going to a good home? That is where it helps to choose your destination carefully. I used to really struggle with letting go of my daughter's toys, and I brought some to the charity shop once, and I had this really bad reaction when another lady who was there spotted one of the items that I was donating, and she picked it up and she said, "Oh, my daughter would love this." I had this just terrible, awful split-second reaction where I didn't, but I wanted to just snatch it out of her hand and say, "No, you can't have it, that's my daughter's." I was really shocked by that reaction, and I had to just turn around and walk away, and I sat in my car, honestly, and I just cried. I had so many different emotions at the time. There was guilt, there was anger, there was sadness. The next time I donated toys, I brought them to my daughter's school. She had been there for a year. I got on really well with all the teachers. I got on well with some of the kids even. It was a really great place. We were just about to move here to the States at the time, so I knew I had to let a lot of the stuff go. So I donated to the school, and they were thrilled. They were so grateful. For weeks afterwards, they kept thanking me for all of that stuff, and it made me feel good. We went back to visit shortly afterwards, and we could see the other kids really playing with the toys and enjoying them, and they were getting the benefit. That made me feel so much better about donating those things. Bonus that I didn't want to punch anyone. But the teachers were thrilled, the kids were thrilled, and I got to see that. You know, I got to experience the joy and the gratitude, and I walked away with a smile on my face. I felt really good about it. Find that place for you, a local school, a local nursing home, a cause that is really close to your heart. Donate your stuff there, because when you know that it's going to a good home, you will have no problem packing it all up and sending it on its way. Okay, so you've realized that you have a choice over what to keep and what to part with, and that has helped loosen your grip on some of your stuff. You've decided to let go of guilt and not let clutter drain your mental and emotional energy. And you've even blessed someone else by passing on the items that are still in good, serviceable condition. You are doing great. You have built some momentum. You are feeling lighter with each load that leaves your house. You are leveling up. And then comes the big boss at the end, who is just waiting to knock you down a peg or two. Sentimental stuff. The tea set. Your mother left you a piece of lace from your grandmother's wedding dress. Photos that remind you of a time gone by, maybe a letter from a friend that you don't see anymore. A stuffed bear that brings back childhood memories. How can you possibly part with any of it? This is your whole life. You know, these are your memories, your history, your story, maybe your family's legacy. This is you. Take a deep breath. Let's run back over some of the things that we have already touched on before we face that final boss and kick him to the curb. Remember, you don't have to get rid of any of this stuff. If you're not ready, you're not ready. You might have unprocessed thoughts and feelings. You might just really deep down love and cherish it. That's okay. But thinking about those feelings, are they actually negative feelings? When you look at this thing, does it remind you of a bad time in your life? Is that something that you really need to hang on to? How is that benefiting you? What is the value in keeping that? Again, remember, you do not have to punish yourself. But I get it. Sentimental stuff has a particular draw. There is a really deep emotional connection to that stuff. So I want to give you 2 pieces of advice that will help you to disconnect. The first is simple. Okay, it's deceptively simple, but that is to interact with your stuff on a regular basis. That might be once or twice a year. Why? Because things stored in a box in the attic, or things labeled as sentimental or special, they take on this air of reverence, and you look at them and you think, oh no, that's sentimental stuff, you know, that can't be touched. That's the special stuff that we're saving. But when you pull all of that stuff out, when you take it out of boxes, when you bring it out into the light of day, when you pile it all up around you, some of it is going to seem downright ordinary. Some of it you will even look at and think, how did that end up in there? And that is especially true if a long period of time has passed. You know, my pregnancy clothes were really special to me years ago. You know, being pregnant was great. It was a big deal. I felt great. It was a wonderful time. But 8 years later, not so much. I pulled them out recently and I felt pretty much nothing towards them. Not everything that seems special is or will continue to feel special. So return to that stuff often, and yes, some of it will retain its value. It will still be meaningful and important to you, but a lot of it, you'll wonder how it got in there. You know, like, did you accidentally drop it into that box when you were packing it up? It just won't mean the same to you anymore. And now let's land that final blow. Let us defeat the decluttering demon and loosen the grip that clutter has on us. What really helps me here is realizing that the memories are not in the item itself. They're in my head and in my heart. Taking this item away does not detract from who you are. It does not take the memory away. It does not erase the fact that this thing happened, or that the person who gifted it to you or who it belonged to, you know, was in your life and played a big part of your life. Yes, it might kind of jog a memory for you. It might help to remind you of something, but you can be reminded in so many different ways. You could take a photograph of it. You could write a journal entry about it. You could share the story of it with someone else so that you're both sharing in that memory, that you're both reminiscing together. You could donate that item to a cause that is close to your heart, and then every time you remember that cause, every time you hear about all the good work that they're doing in the community, that will help to remind you of the memory itself. Stuff is not your story. Keep something because you love it, not because you're afraid of letting it go. You're trying to get around all the lights. Come on. Careful. If you haven't done so already, I would love it if you subscribed. We are so close to helping 100,000 of you cut out the clutter and live a simpler, happier life. Thank you for being a part of this, and until next time, go raibh míle maith agaibh. Agus feici mé sib sigalua. Slán. Hey, Betty Road. Betty Road.